Hello everyone, a very good evening to one and all. So today's topic is human eye. So let us discuss about human eye in this today's session. So here it is about structure of human eye. These are all the parts of human eye. And this retina, optic nerve, ciliary muscle, crystalline lens, iris, pupil, cornea, ciliary muscle, vitreous humor. So we shall discuss about each of them in detail in today's session. Okay, let's move further. Firstly, this portion we call this as iris, and the center, the middle portion exactly, which is you can see in the dark shaded. So this is pupil. Okay, now cornea. Cornea is this bulged portion. As you can see, if we close our eyes, right, the bulged portion. Wait, I will show you in the previous one. Okay, see, this bulged portion is known as cornea, right? So what is the function of cornea? Cornea is white in color and it is transparent. That means we can see it very clearly. It allows the light passage and it can be visible very clearly, and it protects the interior of the eye. This cornea protects the interior of the eye. That is the inner part of eye, and it refracts the light. That is bending of light takes place. Next, iris. Firstly, pupil. Let us go with pupil. Pupil, adjustment of size of pupil. So what iris does is iris controls the size of pupil. Pupil, the size of the pupil is enlarged sometimes and it shrinks sometimes according to the situation, according to the place where we are. So the size of the pupil changes. So what iris does is it controls the size of the pupil. And if you can see, these lens are these lens convex lens. Convex lens, that means they are converging lens. Converging lens, that means focuses all the light at one point, that is C. Here I said light get refracted, so at one point, right? Usually it is actually here. So retina, the image forms on retina, you already know. The image formation takes place on the retina. Now we shall discuss when the size of the pupil increases and when the size of the pupil get decreases or shrinkens, when enlarges and when shrinkens. So first, when we are moving from sunlight to a dark room, what happens at that time? The size of the pupil gets increases, that is enlarges. I'll draw it in a black color so that you can understand well. So sunlight, from sunlight to a dark room, the size of the pupil get increases, that is enlarges. And when we are moving from a dark place, or let us consider dark room only, dark room to sunlight, what happens? The size of the pupil get decreases, that is shrinkens. So why this takes place? See, firstly, we are in sunlight and we are moving into a dark room. Firstly, what means the light enters through the pupil. So we are moving from sunlight to a dark room. We will increase the size of, we are supposed to increase the size of pupil, because see, if the size of the pupil is more, then the passage of light is also more. In dark room, to see things, we need light, right? We are unable to see, so that the size of the pupil get increased. And coming to dark room to sunlight, uh, in dark room we already adjusted the size of the pupil, so as to that dark room. Now we are coming into sunlight. In sun there is lot of light, so no need to pass more light to it, so we will decrease the what size of pupil. Now let us discuss about ciliary muscles. Ciliary muscles are the muscles which hold the lens in position. Let me show you figure. So here, as you can see, these are the ciliary muscles. These are the ciliary muscles. They are holding this lens in position, right? So yes. Now let us discuss about the humor. Humors. Firstly, aqueous humor. Aqueous humor means nothing but it is a fluid between cornea and lens that helps the eye function properly. Between cornea and the lens. And coming to vitreous humor, it is the fluid between lens and retina that keeps the eye wet. Here, it helps in the functioning of eye properly, that is aqueous humor, and keeping eye wet is a function of the vitreous humor. So here, this is the cornea and these are the lens. So this portion is known as the aqueous humor, that is Simply I am denoting it by AH, aqueous humor. And between the lens and retina, this portion is known as the vitreous humor. Simply I am abbreviating as, I am denoting it as VH. Yes? What is the function of aqueous humor? It helps in the functioning of eye properly. And vitreous humor is it keeps the eye wet. So now, lens are the ones which separate aqueous humor and vitreous humor. If you can see here properly, these are the lens. Lens are separating aqueous humor and vitreous humor, right? Now next we shall go with nerve cells. Nerve cells. There are two types, cones and rods. Cones got their name from their shape, that is cone shape, and rods also from their name, rods. Okay, cones. Cones are sensitive to bright light, and rods are sensitive to dim light. That means they are activated at that moment. Cones are they activate at bright light and rods at dim light. Cones has color receptors, rods do not have color receptors. Cones have color receptors. Next, we shall discuss about blind spot. Blind spot is the place where no image formation takes place. Why? Because of the absence of nerve cells. Because of the absence of nerve cells, no image formation takes place on blind spot. Okay, that's it. Next, optic nerve. What is the function of optic nerve means? It transmits electrical impulses. It transmits electrical impulses from your eyes to your brain. From eyes to brain. Optic nerve transmits electrical impulses from eyes to brain. Okay, these are the topics covered in this lecture. So firstly, what we have discussed about cornea, pupil, iris first. What pupil? Pupil is the dark portion you can see in the eye. What it does, pupil adjusts the size of it. And who controls it? Iris controls the size of pupil. Cornea is the bulged portion. It protects the interior of the eye, and it refracts the light. And what about retina? Image formation takes place at retina. Ciliary muscles hold the lens in position. Crystalline lens means nothing but the lens. It means the type of uh, lens relating to its shape. They have mentioned crystalline, as you can see. And next, optic nerve. Optic nerve means it transmits electrical impulses from eye to the brain. Vitreous humor, aqueous humor. Vitreous humor is in between lens and retina, and aqueous humor is between cornea and lens. What is the function of aqueous humor? It helps in the functioning of eye. And vitreous humor, It keeps the eye wet, right? So, thank you. This is all about today's session. Hope you like it.